My name is Jamie Says, and I'm a second grade teacher at CT Jeanette Elementary in Jefferson Parish. The content being taught in this segment is ELA using the Tier 1 CKLA Knowledge Curriculum. Today we have two main objectives. Students are expected to be able to describe the life cycle of a plant, as well as be able to sequence and write a summary about the life cycle. I'm expecting students to fully grasp this particular concept in order to be able to apply it and complete today's writing task. Prior to this lesson, students were introduced to the concept of a cycle and have been introduced to many natural cycles such as day and night, as well as the 4 seasons. This lesson connects to my overall goal of sparking a love for reading in my students and getting them to be interested in nonfiction texts. Throughout this lesson, I am able to expose my second graders to complex texts, increase their knowledge, and develop their vocabulary so that they can ultimately apply it and explain their understanding through writing. I've been working really hard to fully understand the new curriculum and implement it effectively for all my students. To aid my visual and tactile learners, students will be manipulating illustration cards in a circular format. I have made a variety of question modifications in my read aloud. We are also generating a reading word wall to help with student comprehension and retention. Alright, today guys we're going to be doing a reading lesson on the life cycle of a plant. We are moving through our journey of our domain of cycles in nature. Today's objective, repeat after me, I can describe the life cycle of a flowering plant. Our second objective that we're going to be working on today is I can sequence and write a summary of the life cycle of a flowering plant. Let's look at this word sequence. I wonder what the word sequence means. Chloe?
Sequence means like first, next, then last, or finally.
What are you going to use those words for? Why do we use those words?
Something in order.
Boom, there we go. Sequence means to put details in order. Absolutely. So that's what we're going to be doing today with the life cycle of a plant. We're going to be sequencing it, putting it in order, and then we're going to write a summary. What's a summary? Devin?
A summary is like something that like a paragraph that you write down.
Yes, and we're going to use those words that Evan just told us about, the temporal words. So these are our goals for today. Can we do this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's recap and talk about what we already know, what we've already learned in this domain. We've learned about cycles. Tell me what a cycle is. What do we already know? Peyton?
A cycle is like something that happens over and over and over again.
How are the seasons a cycle?
So we have one season, and then another season, and all the seasons keep going, and then it repeats over and over and over.
All right, yesterday we started talking about those 4 seasons, and we learned a lot about the plants. What did we learn about how plants are affected by the seasons? Elijah?
Plants are affected by the seasons because in one of the seasons, as winter, they don't have any soil or sunlight or rain.
Today our purpose, we're going to listen carefully to the read aloud to learn about the stages of a plant life cycle. Pay close attention to the sequence. Remember, that's our goal for today. We're going to be able to... Hocus pocus.
Everybody focus!
All living things pass through stages from birth to adult called a life cycle. Good job. Therefore, the life cycle of a flowering plant begins in spring. I wonder why spring is a good time for the plant life cycle to start. Turn and talk to a friend. The first leaves unfold to allow photosynthesis to begin. Remember that word from
Right
yesterday?
there. Photosynthesis
Yes.
is the biggest word.
We have it on our word wall.
I wonder how they make their own food.
Anybody?
Oh.
How do they make their own food?
They make their own food because when it rains, the roots get that rain and it goes up to the flower.
Yeah, so
Yep.
the roots are absorbing the water and it's also absorbing nutrients from the soil. In the warmth of spring and summer, plants continue to grow, so all through the summer as well. The young plant is called a seedling. Everybody?
Yes.
Seedling.
I didn't know.
Gradually, a plant stem will grow taller and true leaves will emerge or come out. In order for a flowering plant to reproduce by making seeds that will make new flowering plants, it must be pollinated. I wonder what that word pollinated means. What does pollination mean? Annabella, you want to take that one?
Pollination means when like a bee goes from one flower and gets pollen, and then he takes it to the next flower.
So we know that pollination is when pollen gets moved and transferred to something else. How does that happen? Give me one idea. 7. Bees. Evan.
Hummingbird.
Maybe hummingbirds. Alora.
Wind.
The wind. I like that one. That's a good one.
Good job.
Elijah.
A butterfly.
A butterfly.
It also can be other animals that are attracted to the shape, fragrance, or color of a flower. Without these pollinators, like the birds, the insects, and all those things, most flowering plants would not produce seeds and fruit. So without the pollination, it doesn't work. They need the pollen from other plants in order to make new seeds, right? There are more than 2,000 different kinds of birds in the world that feed on nectar. But they're attracted by what? Maybe the color of it, and maybe the shape of the flower. They're looking for a shape that they can actually fit their beak inside. If I knock this over or brush past it if I was walking in a garden, I've just helped spread new seeds, right? And once it starts to fall off, other animals help with this too. How many people have a dog? If your dog brushes through your plants or your flowers and knocks the leaves or seeds off, it's going to start all over again. How many people have ever picked one of these and what do you do next? Yes. Well, guess what? If you did that, you just helped with pollination.
Yes.
Thank you. The last part of this process is called seed dispersal. Everybody say dispersal.
Dispersal.
So seed dispersal is when you spread the seeds. Sometimes it happens naturally. Some people, if they're planting a garden, the life cycle starts with a seed. All across the world, the life cycle of flowering plants happens again, over and over each year. All right, here we go. Which one of the 4 seasons is the best time for planting seeds and why?
I'll take that one.
Walter.
I think spring is the best time because if it's winter, the plants are probably going to die.
Thumbs up. Walter is exactly right. It is spring, and I love the way that Walter gave me a reason why. Didn't the question ask why? Why is this even important?
Because according to the text, it says if the flower don't have pollen, then it don't grow new plants, and that's when the life cycle stops.
You had a question?
How can a plant start growing roots? I'll take that. Plants can start growing roots
If you put a seed in the ground and put water in it, then in probably 2 weeks the roots will start growing in, and then that's what's called a stem.
Bella?
Right. I got a question.
Yes.
Why is a stem important to a plant?
The stem is important to a plant because that's where all the rain goes
soil and into the roots, and then it goes up the stem into the flower to help the flower grow.
All right, now it is time for our application.
Yay!
Remember, we had a goal at the beginning of this lesson. I can describe the life cycle of a flowering plant. All right, so what you're going to do, you're going to take your images of your flower. I expect you to have a meaningful conversation with your partner. You can agree, you can disagree. I'm okay with that, as long as it is respectfully, right? You are putting this in order. You are describing those temporal words.
First, next, then, last, or harmony.
Yes.
Can
Can you handle this?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any questions?
No, ma'am.
The seeds are already gone. The seeds are already making a root, a stem, and a flower. Then the seeds fall when something touches. Then you need the seeds back right now.
So I wonder, like, what happened after this stage? I want you guys to describe this cycle to me, but I want you to use those temporal words. Can we try to use the temporal words? Can we go? Anybody want to take then? Alex?
It starts to get a little bit bigger after you start growing the seeds. I respectfully disagree with Alex because I think a little while late next because the water gives it finally it dies and like the seeds fall out. I agree with Elijah because we can put it in a circle so that way it looks like it's going over again. So why does the flower need pollen? Oh, anybody want to take that one? I would like to take that one. I would love to. The flower needs pollen because if it doesn't have no pollen, that means I like to add on to life cycle. A life cycle is something that repeats and it's a stage that goes over and over again. First it starts as a seed, then it grows roots, it has a stem, then it has a stem, it grows into a flower. How are these two cycles different from daytime and nighttime?
That's a good question.
First the seed, then the roots, then the stem.
So our goal today was to be able to describe this plant life cycle, right?
Next, it just starts all over again.
Yes.
It takes again and again and again.
Yes. The plant life cycle is going again and again, just like the day and nighttime cycle, the cycle of the 4 seasons. Done. Looking ahead, our next lesson will be the life cycle of trees.
That's a definite. I wonder what's going to be different to the life cycle of a tree and the life cycle of a flower.
What difference? The goal was to be able to describe the life cycle of a plant. Now, I want to see if you can write about it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
My name is...
Upon analyzing student work and utilizing a writing rubric, I was able to determine that 89% of my students achieved mastery of the standards assessed. After reflecting on this lesson, one thing I could have done differently is provided some students with maybe only 3 of the 5 image cards so that they could determine the missing parts of the life cycle. I believe this would have challenged my higher students. Following this teaching segment, we will continue our journey through the cycles in nature domain. Next, students will be exposed to the life cycle of trees, cycles of animals, as well as the water cycle. We will continue to express our understanding through various writing activities. Ultimately, with this content, continued exposure, students will internalize what they learn in my classroom, make connections, and apply these texts to real life. No matter what I teach, my goal is to help students become lifelong learners. I have created a classroom where students feel safe asking questions, making mistakes, and persevering through challenges. I am focused on developing a love for reading in my students and a curiosity that never goes away.